said Power Hour. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. New week. The countdown is on to the inauguration. Yes, yes. Here we go. All right. Let me just check that. Here we go on the Monday. Yes, there we go. And we should be live. Yes, we are live. As a matter of fact, real news. Not everyone likes the real. Not everyone likes the real news. That's for sure. Nope. We are live. Yes, we are alive. Larry King alive. Yes. Oh boy. Here we go. All right. 3 minutes to airtime. 3 minutes to airtime, folks. New week. Yep. No doubt about it. Okay. And we're live in 2 minutes. 2 minutes now. I know people are saying, well, wait a minute. You're live right now. I mean, yes, but I mean, we begin the program. This rendition of the real news. Yes. Last night, subscriber only. Now, this week, we will be doing as I call it, a Gen Pop, General Population Road Patrol Live. We will be doing that. It's not going to always be. For the bulk of it, though, subscriber only. It's working for me. So, now remember, no one is forced to watch any of this. Although some people apparently feel that way. I get that. We'll talk about it. We will definitely talk about it. All right. And we're going to go in just a moment. Yep. Mike Vrabel is in. Patriot coach. Can't be worse than the way it's been. I think it's a good move. Who knows? It could end up working out very well, or there could be some problems, but not exactly my problem. All right, we're going to begin in just a moment. Yes, we're doing Road Patrol Live later. Subscriber only. SFO. But this week we will be doing at least one, if not two, Gen Pops. We will. Just to give people an idea of what they're missing. You know what else is amazing? We're going to begin. I'm waiting for JR to just give me the cue. Yesterday, I was very excited. We hit 80,000 followers on the page. And then, much to my surprise, when I got home last night, we were already at 81,000. So we gained 1,000 followers yesterday. Yesterday, one day. And today, we're already at 81,625. We could be at 82,000. I mean, the growth is just astounding. It is. All right, we are waiting. There it is, folks, at 106. Excuse me, on this. It is Monday, January 13th, year of our Lord 2025. Countdown on for the new administration coming in. That's right. 1 week away, Inauguration Day. Finally, America will be back. But right now, as we speak, we are live on AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. And I want to thank them. Great partners. We are also, you can, but is it true you can listen online at the website? Yes, dpetro.com. Folks, if you want to support the program, we have our online store. Buy a mug. All proceeds go to benefit Road Patrol Live that continues to grow. Outstanding levels. Right now, as we speak, we are live on X and also on YouTube. So now we do on the website, dpetro.com, which to me is perfectly adequate. Could I sink more money into a bigger, yes, but it totally fits the purposes for what I need. It's all about content. I'm very confident We're able to deliver the content, and mostly the website also. You can learn more about the Chosen One. And also, we have links to all of our social media, whether it's TikTok. We're 5,000 away for 100,000 followers. And it's also a link to our Instagram page, of which we just started. We just started leaning into that on Instagram. It was the end of last January is when I said to our team, I want to have more of a presence with IG, with Insta. I want to have a more presence there. I mean, we didn't really have a presence. It was just there. And then so we put a little more effort into it, and we're about to hit 45,000 followers. So tremendous growth. 20,000 followers more than Trapamundo, who was the king of Instagram. And again, we don't even put a lot of effort into it. But that has helped tremendously with the growth of the program. I'll do a come join on Instagram, and then they come over and watch when we're live on Facebook. I've also done the same. TikTok, I really started doing TikTok last year. We really started to lean into it. And we had a presence, but nothing, huge. And now, it's the number one platform. So, but anyhow, that said, folks, this portion of the program, as I mentioned, dpetro.com, it's brought to you by the Coesit Inn, 226 Coesit Avenue, West Warwick. Lunch, dinner, drinks in the lounge, the market at Coesit. I need to find out how many mugs are left. We had the very limited edition Road Patrol Live mug that Carol designed. I'll find out. It was available in the market at Coesit, where they have delicious soups and prepared meals and gourmet food and everything at the market at Coesit. And remember, the Coesit Inn, perfect gathering. They can handle a large group. They're waiting for you at the Coesit Inn. Now, for those of you that listen and watch a lot, I'm not oblivious to the fact that there's a number of people that don't like the coverage that we've done on the horrific incident that happened in West Greenwich. And I'm not going to spend the full hour on it, but I think it's important. There are so many of you that watch the program. There's so many of you that listen to the program. I want to use this to clarify, because people tag various things. As a journalist, if you check all of my bios, nowhere will you see the word journalist. I am a content creator. As Court TV introduced, nationally known radio host. That's true. But by and large, I am a content creator. As a news reporter, I'm a content creator. Show me one bio on all of the bios, whether it's on the website, whether it's on X, whether it's on TikTok. Nowhere will you find the word journalist. I am a content creator. I create content, audio and video, that people certainly seem to like, as we were highlighted Friday on Court TV. Excuse me. But I want to touch on the West Greenwich situation, because I think people, it's important to clarify. It is important to clarify. I want you to know my mindset as we approach this. Now, we have new information about what happened, and it will be posted on the website. I want to be very clear. There is no obligation to people. You're under no obligation to go and read it. You're under no obligation to share it. Zero. Nothing. But I want people to understand my mindset. This is, in my mind, I think this is the worst crime we've seen in this area since Craig Price. And what I mean is, granted, listen, the Station nightclub fire, 100 people died, but it wasn't as though someone chained the doors and trapped them all in there on purpose. So I'm just talking about what took place with what we know happened in West Greenwich. And therefore, I do believe that. Craig Price was an incredibly disturbing story that people still remember and talk about to this day. And now do you remember in the 90s, I wasn't living in Rhode Island, but I think the name was Brendel. And it was a guy that I don't remember exactly all the details, but he went to this family in Barrington, and I think they were exposing him he was like a financial fraud, and he went there and took the lives of the whole family. So now that was a horrific crime. What happened in Johnston? Just where you had that nutcase that he took the life of his own mother. He shot his neighbor. He killed his neighbor, as a matter of fact, shot the neighbor, and then Cranston police were chasing him, and then he ended up getting taken out in a gun battle with police. I'm not saying that there haven't been other horrific crimes, but what really stands out to me about this is the nature of the fact that, as I had said, it is. I don't know if people are fully recognizing what took place here. This was as demented and as evil as this person was. And I do believe that I feel pretty confident, very confident, as a matter of fact, that we have learned motive. So, but you have to understand. So, in every situation of a homicide, there's a situation in Providence. A gang member runs into a fellow gang member, rival gang member that he's had a problem with in the past for whatever reason. Their beef. And it's a chance encounter outside of a liquor store. So one gang member takes out handgun, bang, 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 takes out the other gang member. So the three things that go into a homicide: motive means an opportunity. Motive means an opportunity. The case of the gang member. Did he have motive? Well, there was bad blood between the two of them for whatever reason. I'm not saying it's justified, but he wasn't a stranger, and there was bad blood between the two of them. Was there motive? Apparently, yes. Was there the means to do it? Well, he happened to be in possession of a handgun. So, and he used that to commit the crime. Was there an opportunity? Yes. The chance encounter outside of the liquor store on Broad Street. Motive means opportunity. Boom, guilty. So, in any situation like that, it comes down to motive means an opportunity. With West Greenwich, the West Greenwich incident, was there an opportunity? Yes, he was alone in the home with his family. The last one to see them alive, apparently, the father. Was there the means? Yes, he was in possession of weapons. So he had opportunity, he had means, and I believe that we have uncovered. And by the way, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that the motive would make sense. There's no motive that would make sense. Listen, the situation I just laid out on Broad Street. So the motive in that person's mind could have been, he badmouthed me when I was locked up at the ACI, or whatever, something stupid. I'm not saying the motive is justification. The motive is what motivated that person to act at that particular moment. So when I say motive, so I want to be very clear. There's no rational motive. But in New Orleans, you had the individual that had transformed, radicalized to ISIS. And he was going to end his life. And first he was going to take out family and friends. Then he changed his mind, and he ended up on the sidewalk in New Orleans. So his dedication to ISIS was the motive. He had the opportunity. He drove to New Orleans, and then he had the means to do it, which was the vehicle. So motive means opportunity. I'm not saying that's a rational motive. So I don't want people to confuse motive with that it's justified. right? People are killed in war. Motive means opportunity. Motive, we're going to take out the enemy, means opportunity. So, but I want to touch on a little bit with who's the desired. Now, I will touch on the homelessness situation. I will, but I want to stay on track. And I also want to clarify coverage. I do, because obviously, listen, our audience keeps growing. If there are some people out there, and they film, they report, they have pages, they have platforms, and they have no followers, or they are very little followers. And the reason is because people don't really care about the content they're putting out. I mean, that's it. Baseball's ratings are way down. Why is that? Because less people care about watching baseball. That's what it comes down to. So it's a matter of what interests the public. And if you have content that the public finds interesting, that's what it's about. You know, as I've said in the past, there's countless musicians. They'd write original songs and perform them. And 10 to 12 people would go to see them. And then you have, Taylor Swift. Clearly, more people like what she's putting out than what, a local original artist. I want to stay on track, though, folks. In this portion of our program, it's brought to you by Propane Plus. Remember, call them today, the Propane Leader, Propane Plus, 401 885 4209. In Massachusetts, 508 252 3359. You can depend on Propane Plus, 401 885 4209. They also have a very user-friendly website. It's propaneplus.com. You just type in your zip code, residential or commercial. It's Propane Plus. Call them today, 401 885 4209. Now, I do want to touch on, just very briefly, very quickly, but I want to touch on the people that say, I don't think you should be covering the story because of the families. Because of the friends and families, I don't think you should be talking about the story. And I don't think you should be posting about the story. And I don't think you should be putting the photo of the father, Nick Arruda. So, but I want to just clarify that for just a moment. Because, and just to hear me out, I remember when Cornell Young Jr. lost his life. Providence police officer. This was January of 2000, coming up on the 25th anniversary of that. And and that happened on a Thursday night, early Friday morning. Fighters right on Atwells Avenue and Valley Street. He stopped to get some late night food after the clubs had closed. He was at a place called Geraldo's, which then now became Club Desire, I believe. But anyhow, stopped in to get some food. And there was an altercation outside in the parking lot. And someone in the parking lot, I believe, had a weapon. So he comes out, Providence police arrive. He comes running out. Again, I nothing against him or the mother of the family, but there were a number of things that broke down. He didn't have his badge out. They saw a wet gun. They think it's just part of the altercation. Bang, bang, bang. They should have been killed. So I remember that happened. So that weekend, I reached out to Lisa Young. She agreed to come on my radio program at the time, WHHI. And so, but I remember, so it was obviously a massive story. It was a national story. It was an international story. Providence police officers killed by fellow officers. And then they bring up the fact that, they explored was race a factor and so forth. But nevertheless, but I remember the first call I got that Monday. That first call, because I know a story and I knew this was going to be a big story. The first call was a guy, and I won't get into it, but Tony, I think it was from Pawtucket. And he said, right out of the box, I just hope you're not going to talk about the Cornell Young case. First caller. And I said, what? Why? What? I don't think you should talk about it. There's other things to talk about. I just hope you're not going to talk. And I hope the station won't allow you to talk about it. And folks, That's all we talked about for 2 weeks. It was a major story. So I didn't listen then. Um, my point is, there's always people that feel that way for whatever reason. For whatever reason, I don't have an answer for it even. But what I want you to understand, look at the recent assassination, if you will, of Brian Thompson, United Healthcare CEO. He's in New York, and we've seen, well, most of us have seen the video. There's, at the time, the masked gunman, and he's walking into the hotel, and he's got that certain type of, it's a silencer on it, and so forth. So, what I want you to understand is, can you imagine if NBC News and ABC News and Fox News, if they contacted the family of Brian Thompson and said, we have this piece of videotape from the hotel that shows the whole thing happening. Do you mind if we run it? What do you think the answer would have been for Brian Thompson's family and friends? What do you think they would? What would they have? They would have said, no, 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 please don't show that. Okay, we have stills of the suspect they're looking for in the hostel he was staying at, and in a cab. No, no, don't show that. And then finally, they've made an arrest. Luigi Mangione, we have here. No, don't show that. Folks, my point is, news is not designed for, in that particular case, it's not designed for the family and friends. It's designed for the general public. So this notion of it's and there is a difference, by the way, I want to point out. When media sometimes will go to the home of the family and knock on the door and want to try to get a reaction and that type of thing. I understand that. And I understand the family then issues a statement. We'd like the media to respect our privacy. When they say we'd like the media to respect our privacy, what they mean is they don't want the media showing up at their door. Now, the Boston Globe was able to reach the brother of Nick Arruda. So they reached out to him. I don't know if I hear outrage over people that the Boston Globe reached out, but I just don't think people fundamentally understand that the information that's out there, it's not designed for the family. And this business of people of, I don't want to see it anymore. Well, there are times, not often, but there are times that I want to unplug. I want to relax. I'm with some family or friends. Now, what I do is I just don't go on my phone, because my phone is filled with news, information, people contacting you, tips. So that's my way. What don't I do? I don't tell Channel 12 and Channel 10 and the Boston Globe, don't put anything out because I'm trying to relax. So I have my phone, and if you put anything out, so I don't want you to publish anything because I'm trying to unplug. It doesn't work that way. It falls to the individual that then goes past. And by the way, there are stories every day. Most stories we see, we don't consume. There was the story of that woman that went missing you can't be on every story. She was in Hawaii. She flew to LA. She went missing. The whole story is a little bizarre. I just didn't follow it. I didn't really follow it that closely. There were some people that followed it very closely. There were people that followed the Idaho murders very closely. I just didn't follow it that closely. I didn't demand that everyone just stop talking about it. I want to reiterate again, in my mind, not only is we haven't heard anything this horrific in our area since Craig Price. I would argue it's worse than Craig Price. And as I've said, you look at Columbine. There were many people that felt, don't show the two shooters. Don't show any of the victims. There are people. There's always people like that, is what I'm trying to say. But as we know, if there's someone, how much guidance would you get from someone under a desk in a fetal position. Does that seem like someone that could give productive advice or guidance? There's always people like that. But as a result of that, Columbine, they've changed how security is done at schools because of that. They could have brushed that under the rug. The situation in Maine last October, not this past October, 23, with that Robert Card. I'm sure the families weren't thrilled about that, but there were a lot of questions about that. They missed a lot of warning signs with that guy. There were a lot of red flags on that guy. And the only thing that makes it real is when you show some of the carnage, who the victims are. I know there were people, don't show that. Whatever you do, don't show that guy. But how many people right now, when I say the name Craig Price, can still visualize Craig Price? It is part of the story. So if people are uncomfortable with a story, what I'm trying to say is there's always people like that. But we can't follow them. We can't listen to them. I would argue that people that for whatever reason, they're more comfortable in a situation of where it's just not of safety in their mind. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Kids Club on the Pike. Let's talk about something happy. Birthday parties, before and after school programs, preschool programs. Kids Club on the Pike. It's filled with fun and laughter, located right on the Cranston-Johnston line, right on Plainfield Pike. Now, you can find their Facebook page or call them at 401-443-5336. Kids Club on the Pike is perfect if you're looking to host a group of children for a birthday party or a teen party, or maybe you're looking for a preschool program or before or after school program. Kids Club on the Pike. That's who you want to seek out. 401-443-5336, right off 295. It's Kids Club on the Pike. Well, folks, good afternoon. This is the real news. And this is the real news, as a matter of fact. Someone asked me, let's see, Brian, they're thinking of updating their home. They'd like to talk to someone that could update their home, and heard me mention a designer. It's Arch Design Builders. Contact them. They will work with you. Great workmanship. Eddie and Roxanne, Arch, A-R-C-H, Arch Design. Whether it is, maybe you want to open up your living room or kitchen areas, or maybe it is, in fact, a new kitchen or a new bathroom or a basement or a special project. Arch Design Builders. Call them today, free quote. I also share their Facebook page, 401-207-4127. Arch Design Builders, and online, archdesignbuildersri.com. Now, I want to also just say this about West Greenwich. And also, folks, it's if people weren't if people weren't interested in it, there would be no what they call engagement with a lot of the posts. Again, not to be redundant here, I don't understand people. They just don't want to talk about anything, or they don't want to talk about it. I don't say unfollow. I just say scroll past. Maybe that topic isn't for you. Every topic isn't for everyone, which is totally fine. I know it's a big story. I still believe it's a big story. It's a haunting story. It's a very uncomfortable story. It's a very emotional story. But this notion of that people see no evil, hear no evil, that just go into that. And I also reiterate, who is it that decides? Like, I think the public decides. People should be allowed to decide. I freely admit, I don't rationalize or relate to people that feel they have, like, no, that's it. No one's talking about this anymore. I've never understood that. And I don't know what I then think, did I give them the impression that they have that kind of, you don't decide that. That's not the way the system works. That's not the way social media works. That's, you don't have the power. You're not the teacher in the front of the room. I know of a group of individuals, I won't say who, but they're going through nothing related, excuse me, nothing related to this, but a group of people, friends and family, and they're going through a difficult time. And one of them told me when they get together for 2 hours, for the first hour, they talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the predicament that they're in. And these people did nothing wrong, by the way. They were just dragged into an equation. But they say for the first, and then the second or third hour, that's it. No more talk about it. But that's individuals that decide this. The West Greenwich story, make no mistake about it, it is uncomfortable. I also find how many people that they don't read the story. They don't really know the details of the story. For instance, and you'll see they'll put, oh, this is like Chris Watts. Now, not everyone knows that story, but that was a guy in Nevada. He's alive, though. He's alive. He did harm, take out his face, but he's alive. This person is not. This person, I see people, this happens all the time. Susan Smart. I remember the Susan Smart story. It was a mother, had 2 children, and she had a new boyfriend, and he mentioned he didn't like kids. So she put them in a car and had the car go into the lake. Well, but she didn't go in the lake, and she didn't hurt the my point is, it takes a lot to break through to the general public. So let me just say this before I touch on homelessness and the fact that this notion that there's a crisis in Rhode Island, which I don't accept. But in regards to this, I believe, it's worthwhile to explore if there were red flags, if there were things that shouldn't have been ignored, if there were warning signs. There were, let me say that there are some individuals that want to treat this as though, this perfectly normal functioning individual just woke up one day and it's almost like a spirit went into his body, and that's not what happened. Governor McKee wants to act like the Washington Bridge was an act of God. One day it was fine, the next day, well, that's not accurate. That's not accurate in any way. My point is, I believe with this, from what we've learned, there were a number of red flags. And my point is, there's other individuals out there that are in danger that should be looking and not ignoring red flags. So I didn't say the topic is comfortable. It's not. It's really uncomfortable. It is. But it doesn't mean it's not a worthwhile topic. Those that don't want to engage in the topic are not forced to engage in it. But as I said, I'll never understand those that just feel no one should be talking about it. There's countless examples of this, as I said. There were people after 9/11, don't show the hostages. Excuse me, don't show the terrorists. Don't show those hijackers. When you looked at them, said a lot. There were people that said, don't show the people. I could go on and on about it. I could. But I think most of you, to me, and let me also be very clear, the people that want to shut it down, I want to clarify this. I regard those people that the ones that put up the wall, I regard them as, admittedly, just so you know where I stand, immature, uneducated, actually kind of childish, and very unsophisticated. It's a see no evil, hear no evil approach. And they're out there. They're definitely out there. And they make no bones about letting their comment and their thoughts known, no matter how inane. But there are people. No one stop showing the planes hitting the towers. We don't need to see that. There's people like that. Folks, now I do want to touch on the homelessness. There's an important part of it that needs to be made clear. But this portion of the program is brought to you by Watson Materials. Remember, the largest selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island, South County Trail. It's Watson Materials. Call them, request a quote, 401-885-0600. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone, cobblestone. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials in Rhode Island. Think how beautiful the outside of your home or business could be. Watson Materials, the most complete selection of landscape materials is Watson Materials. Landscape lighting, pavers, retaining walls, natural stone. Watson Materials. Call them 401-885-0600. So what you're hearing, and I want to thank Justin Katz for Christopher Hightower killed Brendel family in Barrington. Thank you for that. That's exactly right. Christopher Hightower. Yes, that was a wildly disturbing story. And thank you for that. And I'm sure that there are people that didn't want to hear about it. But something like that. But let me get back to and I'm glad that Justin Katz, who we speak to once a week with Politics This Week, talked about it. And what I'm talking about is one of the state reps, Teresa Tanzi, and she put out a letter regarding this whole people are signing a petition at the State House to declare a state of emergency. And one of the reasons why they're doing this is this number that starts to get thrown around and it's not challenged. And I want to point out, Justin, members of the Rhode Island General Assembly call on Governor McKee executive order public health emergency. But at the bottom of it, and this is important for, oh, hold on. There we go. There we go. Oh, we're back. This is important. At the bottom of the statement, 54 Rhode Islanders have died because they resided outside in the elements. Folks, that is completely false. And that number now gets thrown around. That's a disingenuous, misleading number by design. By design. More have lost their lives because of disease or illness they got as a result of being homeless. But there's the number, 54 Rhode Islanders. Now, boy, that sounds like a lot. 54 people have died because they were outside. Hold on. So much of this is hand in hand with overdoses and drugs. It just is. But what they're trying to say is we have a homeless epidemic. And that's the number. 54 people have died. You people hear that. They're like, oh my, that's a lot of people freezing to death. And no. If you have someone, they have an apartment, they have a car, they drive to where they can get the drugs, a dealer, KP Kennedy Plaza, wherever. They drive to find the drugs. They then get the drugs. They then go to wherever, outside, a park, a playground, near the bike path, wherever these places these people seem to go. Maybe they go to one of the encampments, and they're welcomed if they're showing up with pockets full of drugs. They then use the drugs. They're outside. They overdose. That is not someone dying because of the elements. That's the number they're including here. How many people have frozen to death? None. Zero. they're counting now people that overdose outside. There are people that are found deceased outside for a number of different reasons, but it's how they're living that is happening, as a matter of fact. So now, right now, you don't hear any of these Rep Tansey, who's a wild progressive. You don't hear any of them talking about the drugs. When they had the homeless encampment at the State House, suddenly a lot of needles were being found. What does that tell you? The people in the tents are injecting. So much of this, I've interviewed junkies, I've interviewed drug addicts, and people say, why would you see someone passed out on the street? And this guy that I interviewed, it was several years ago now, but he said, I lived in Pawtucket, but I would take the bus to where I knew I could get drugs. And once I got them, I didn't want to go all the way back to Pawtucket. I wanted to stay close to where I could get the drugs. So when they wore off, I could be right there again. So he would, do whatever and pass out on a bench or pass out in a park or various places. Sometimes police would come. Sometimes he'd find an encampment where they'd let him sleep it off in a tent or whatever. But he certainly didn't want to keep going back and forth. So I believe, as much as a lot of people say so much of the homelessness is mentally ill, I would argue there are people that don't take their medication. There are people that don't take their medication. But if you were, if you were outside for several days and you haven't showered and you haven't eaten properly and you're sleeping in a tent and you're tired and you could use a shower and you could use a good meal and you could use some real rest. But instead you're on the street and you're not sleeping that well and you're wondering where you're going to, use the bathroom or what have you, reuse facility. I fully consider, and you're not thinking clearly, let alone then if you're using drugs. And I mean, we're talking, meth and oxy and all the opioids. And if you're shooting something or snorting something, 100%, they're not thinking clearly. Most of the people that commit crimes are not thinking clearly. I've interviewed criminals. I interviewed a guy that said he never did. He used to do robberies. He said he never did a robbery straight. He was always either high or he was drinking. He said he couldn't. He was too nervous. Before he was going to commit a robbery, he would get, blank faced. So yeah, that was the only way he could do it. Otherwise, he was too nervous about it, anxiety. There was another guy, and again, this is many years ago. I was on the radio in Boston. He said the only way he could commit the crimes he was committing was he needed blow. He said if he did enough blow, he could get himself wired enough where he'd be like, I can do this. They'd be out in the car, him and whoever, his accomplice or two accomplices, and they'd all be doing lines. And when they'd be doing lines, they'd then be like, all right, now I'm ready to go. What about you? Yeah, I'm ready to go. What about, yeah, I mean, it didn't happen right away. So that element of it kind of goes hand in hand. But that number is now being tossed around, is my point. Now that's the number. 56 people have died outside because of the elements. That's not accurate. That's not accurate. There's the fact of the matter is no one has frozen outside. Not around here. Not around here. But I believe if these people were real, if they were serious about it, they wouldn't be ignoring the drug element of it. When they kicked out those people that were living under the underpass on 95, right? And we went and filmed there. And then they had the big cleanup. They had tents set up under the underpass. What else are around there? I immediately recognized there's the orange needles. They get the needles, they're injecting. That's really serious. If you're injecting smack, that goes to another level. Not all the time. You don't even need to all the time. I mean, when you hear about injections, I think of Jimi Hendrix. You think of Jim Morrison. You think of John Belushi. You think of, I think, Janis Joplin. I mean, that's how hardcore it was. They're injecting the drug. You don't need to anymore. They smoke it, they snort it, they take it in pill form. So the ones that are injecting, that's those are hardcore addicts. And you the fact you're giving them a warming shelter, that's not curbing their drug problem. To me, it absolutely should go hand in hand. And instead, what is Governor McKee going to do? They're going to open the safe injection center. Hey, we'll give you clean needles. We'll test your stuff. We'll make sure that it's clean for you to do. As I have stated, I think that's a huge mistake. I don't think that's going to discourage people. I I'm more interested in people that are having real discussions on causes. There are. And on top of that, we should have safety nets in society for people. There are people that develop a drug problem and they need help to help them with that drug problem. There are people that develop a drinking problem. There are people that run away from abusive situations. There's all those things. We need those. But I don't think those things are I don't think they're being addressed, and I know they're not being addressed when people, legislators like Tansey, are putting out fake numbers. 56 people died because of the elements. That's not accurate. That's not true. If they're going to lie, and shame on anyone that signed that. That's not true. The homeless advocates, you know, all they say, you got to hire more people. We need more money. It's a business. It's a racket. That's what it is. And I know some people say, well, no one would choose to be homeless. I don't know about that. I think a big part of this, as I've stated, there should be employment attached to it, and there should be some kind of, these people need rehab is what they need. So you're not, it's Band-Aid approach is what it is. But so much of this is employment. If you were working, you wouldn't have time to be homeless. No, I wouldn't like the homeless life. You wake up, you didn't sleep well. First thing you want to do is you need to find food. Then you need to find a restroom. Then you got to decide whether or not you're going to take a shower. Then you got to figure out where you're going to have lunch. And then you got to figure out where you're going to get dinner. And then you got to figure out where you're going to stay that night. No, it's the moment they go homeless, it's very time consuming. Just the day to day. As I've said, it's like people, when you're dealing with, when there's no power, and then suddenly you're literally living hour to hour. What are we going to do for food? What are we going to do what are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do if the power doesn't come back? Your whole day to day becomes taken over by your crisis. And folks, as I also at 1:50 on this Monday, look at what's going on in California. Now that is a crisis. That is an example of policies and leaders that have let the people down. Positions of power, so many times with politicians. Governor McKee, he's not helping people. The guy is, he's just been a disaster. And we have 2 more years of this disaster. This is what happens when you put someone who's not qualified to be the governor. You get bridges stop working. Then you get your data hacked. Then you get companies are moving out. And you get a number of different things that start going wrong. That mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, she shouldn't be the mayor. She's not qualified to be the mayor. No, I don't know what that was. I don't know that much about that woman. I don't know what she's qualified to do. I'll tell you what she's not qualified to do. Be the mayor of Los Angeles. Fire hydrants with no water. You can't pick up the leaves. That's going to disturb the forest. I love that part of the country. 2 of my favorite places in the world are New York and LA. I love LA. I've spent a lot of time out there. I lived there for a period of time. But their policies of the governor, Gavin Newsom, and the mayor are destroying the state. 100%. If you put the wrong person, look at the Patriots with Gerard Mayo. He was the wrong guy. He was the wrong guy. Look at the damage being done to Rhode Island because McKee is the governor. He's the wrong guy. He's not up to the task. Governor McKee is Mac Jones or Bailey Zappi. Folks, this portion of our program is brought to you by Modern Mechanical. Heating, ventilating, air conditioning service. Modern Mechanical. What can they do for you? Boiler installation. Do you have a problem with your heating unit? Boiler repair and maintenance. Furnace installation. Furnace repair and maintenance. With Modern Mechanical, they'll make sure it's working as efficiently as possible. And you need it because we're certainly not out of the woods with winter. Heater installation, heater repair and maintenance, home, residential or commercial, water heater installation, water heater repair and maintenance. Modern Mechanical, ductless air conditioning installation, central air conditioning, repair and maintenance. Modern Mechanical. Give them a call today at 401 441 5442. 401 441 5442 for Modern Mechanical, right on Jefferson Boulevard in Warwick. Well, folks, good afternoon. Right now at 1:54. I also want to touch on, if you were listening to the radio portion, and I highlighted this, Speaker Joe Shekarchi. He's the House Speaker at the Rhode Island State House. And he said something that I believe should have made bigger news. And in fairness, through busyness, what I'm going to do is I will clip his clip or get a clip of it, and then I'll post it and you can hear it because it's wildly important for whatever reason. I don't know why the Providence Journal didn't make a bigger deal of it. I don't know why, and I'm not positive. Maybe Channel 12 did make a bigger deal of it, but I'm not. Channel 10 won't report on it because it was set on Channel 12. So, but what Speaker Joe Shekarchi, and I hope Lynn Miller is listening, what he said, and it's finally the first time that I've heard anyone say this publicly. First time anyone said it publicly in the state. And that is, and I know a lot of people aren't going to recognize this because it didn't get a lot of media coverage. And it was said on Channel 12 newsmaker program over the weekend. And I would imagine, I would think that most people didn't see it and didn't watch it and hear it, which is totally fine. But he said something, and actually, I don't even see that Channel 12 has highlighted it, but I'm going to highlight it. And that is that he said, Speaker Shekarchi, that there is no guarantee regarding the federal funding. I can't stress that enough. That is something that I have, and I don't know the answer why it's not a bigger story, but I'm going to highlight it and I'll put it out there, at least that people can see it. But, and I also want to just mention there's this horrible story with the situation of that guy that let me just no, that's not it. Hold on. There was a guy body slammed in Johnston, and we're going to have him on. We're going to have him on tomorrow. He was walking along, and suddenly this guy attacked him. But let me just finish we'll have it on tomorrow. But I want to just finish the point. There's no guarantee on the federal money. There's no guarantee on the federal money. That's the first time we've heard anyone publicly say that. Governor McKee, we're all set. I talked to Biden. Biden doesn't remember the phone call. This is the ultimate. Do you have anything in writing? You have a new administration taking over next Monday. Let me share something with you. Of all the priorities with the new administration, with President Trump, where do you think giving hundreds of millions to Governor McKee falls on that list of priorities for the new administration? Would you say it's a top 5 priority? Would you say it's a top 10 priority? Would you say it's a top 50 priority? I question if I don't think they even deem it a priority. The speaker said it. I don't know why they didn't follow up a little bit more with the speaker on it. And again, I don't want a Monday morning quarterback. They're able to pick out what they want. I will post it, but it's something that I have been hearing. It's something that I have been saying. And that is, there is no guarantee that the state is going to get. Governor McKee, that's it. We're all set. I talked to Biden. We're getting $500 million. Hey, guess what? All bets are off. There's no guarantee on that. Yeah, the government, they're not going to, for what? You've spent $4 billion on that bridge. $4 billion. There's still a criminal probe. They want to know, where'd all the money go? And by the way, I think that's a very fair question. Where did the money go? There is no guarantee. Oh, well, Seth Magaziner and Gabe Amo, they have no power. They have no power in Washington. They're Democrats. They're on the outside looking in. Well, Senator Reid and White House, they're totally on the outside looking in. There's no one in Washington from Rhode Island that could speak up on behalf of the state with the new Trump administration. But that's the first time, and I will post the clip, that Speaker Shekarchi has even hinted there's no guarantee they're going to get the money. No. Nope, not happening. Good luck on that. All right. Yes, look on this sunny Monday. God is good. Yes, we're going to do Road Patrol Live later. If you're listening to the radio, stay tuned for the 2 o'clock news, and we will have a posting and update on the website later today. Folks, we'll see you later on Road Patrol Live.